Hey, what's going on, guys? Huawei had already given us a first look at the Mate 20 Lite during IFA, where we got a glimpse of what the Mate 20 Pro might look like and what features it might have. I'm Ricky with GSM Arena, and we're taking a first look at the Huawei Mate 20, the Mate 20 Pro, and the Huawei Watch GT. Here are the Mate 20 and Mate 20 Pro, and you'll notice one strange thing. The Mate 20 Pro is actually the smaller one with the wider notch, but there are a few trade-offs here. For starters, the Pro's got a 6.39-inch display with dual curves, while the larger Mate 20 Non-Pro has a bigger 6.53-inch display with a smaller dewdrop notch, as Huawei calls it. The Pro has an AMOLED screen, while the Mate 20 has an RGBW LCD screen. Of course, the other main difference is that the P20 Pro now has proper 3D facial recognition like the iPhone's Face ID, complete with an IR camera and flood illuminator. Unlike Apple though, Huawei did keep the fingerprint scanner, but hid it under the display. This is called Huawei's dynamic pressure sensor. It's quick and reliable, but it does require a bit more pressure into the glass. The scanner is right in the lower middle part of the screen, and it will briefly flash when you bring your hand towards it. Otherwise, lift the phone and the screen will light up telling you where to press. Meanwhile, the non-Pro Mate 20 has the smaller notch, which only houses a camera, the normal sensors, and a slotted earpiece. On the right is the return of the red accented power key, which I like. More OEMs should do this. Meanwhile, the SIM tray is now on the bottom and the USB-C port is right next to it. And on top there's an IR blaster, mostly seen on Chinese phones these days. If you've noticed, there's a different texture on the blue and green color options, which Huawei calls hyper-optical. It's got a vinyl record-like texture for improved grip, and it hides fingerprints a little better than the traditional color options with regular glass. Speaking of glass, the Mate 20 and Mate 20 Pro are compatible with 15-watt wireless charging, and Huawei's Supercharge gets an update to 40-watt charging on the Mate 20 Pro. Huawei claims it can charge 70% of the Mate 20 Pro's 4200 mAh battery in half an hour. That's ridiculously fast. The regular Mate 20 uses the current generation Huawei Supercharge for its 4000 mAh battery. One feature though that really blew my mind was reverse wireless charging. This is a first. You can use the phone to charge other Qi wireless devices by placing them right on top. Keep in mind though, it might take a while before the power actually starts to flow. Moving up the back of the phone is Huawei's new camera square. Huawei arranged its triple camera like this to make the phone stand out among competitors. It wants the square camera layout to be iconic to Huawei, so it's likely we'll see this on future Huawei phones. This triple camera is made up of an 8-megapixel telephoto camera with f2.4 aperture, a main 40-megapixel wide camera with a brighter f1.8 aperture, and a new ultra-wide 20-megapixel camera. Unlike the P20 Pro's triple camera, Huawei did away with the monochrome sensor in favor of the new ultra-wide camera. You can still shoot with a monochrome mode, but it isn't a native monochrome camera anymore. With this new camera square, there are a few new features in the camera app. For starters, there are now 4 shooting modes. Aside from 1x, 3x, and 5x zoom, there's now a 0.6x wide camera to shoot with. This makes things interesting because LG is no longer the only OEM to push the wide-angle camera. Thanks to the Kirin 980's new dual NPU, the Mate 20 Pro can analyze video in real time. Here's one of the more interesting video filters called Color AI. It keeps people in color and leaves everything else in monochrome. The Mate 20 Pro will ship with Android Pie out of the box, which means it'll be running EMUI 9.0. Huawei's built-in apps are also seeing updated navigation menus along the bottom of the screen to make them easier to reach. Huawei has cleaned up the general interface, and the settings panel has been simplified by putting advanced tabs in more categories, so you'll see generally less clutter in the settings menu. Huawei Share can now do 2 new things wirelessly: share files with a PC and print documents. The Mate 20 Pro supports wireless display as well, so it can now stream a second display while you use the main one to control it. There's also the new Digital Balance app, and this is Huawei's in-house app for monitoring screen usage and setting time limits for apps. The company even announced a new Huawei Watch GT. It's actually not a Wear OS device, but it uses Huawei's own Light OS and runs its in-house dual-chip solution. It switches between a low and high power chip, so the high power chip is only used when actively performing tasks. So Huawei has done a lot with the Mate series, and I'm really excited to get better acquainted with it. I'm stoked to check out its new triple camera with the ultra-wide angle lens, and I'm also very curious to see how much battery life we can get out of this guy with its 4200 mAh battery. And props to Huawei for making a 40-watt supercharger for it. I'm also excited to check out the Huawei Watch GT. So Wear OS has taken a back seat in the past couple of years, and only now as Google started to ramp up its development. But Huawei has decided that the best way to push forward is to come up with its own operating system and its own chipset platform for the Huawei Watch. Wearables are definitely making a comeback. So please let us know what you think of the Huawei Mate 20 Pro and the Watch GT in the comments below. Be sure to check us out at gsmarena.com for specs, news, and reviews. I'm Ricky, signing off for GSM Arena. Thanks for watching.